We can't gather in person this year, but we've adapted. The 2020 Milwaukee Film Festival brings the best in film from across the globe and around the corner. And this year, it's all virtual, so the films and events are coming directly to you. Join us for the 2020 Milwaukee Film Festival, October 15th through the 29th. More information is at mkefilm.org/MFF.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Day 9 of the 2020 Milwaukee Film Festival, presented by Associated Bank. My name is Miles. I'm a student at Marquette University and a member of the Marquette Forum, one of the sponsors for today's panel discussion. I'd like to welcome you to the panel Growing Up Milwaukee, Our Story. As you may have seen, we have a double up challenge happening right now. Thanks to the generosity of Judith McGregor and Richard Galvin, if we raise $75,000, they will double it. Text double up to 44321 or go to mkefilm.org/members to become a member and donate. Milwaukee Film couldn't do what we do during the festival or throughout the year without the support of our members. Members get free access to films throughout the year, as well as discounts to tickets, passes, and more. Plus, our Milwaukee members also get opportunities to. Our members also can please help us spread the word. Wherever you're watching us live, please drop your questions and or comments in the chat. We'll make sure to add it to our discussion. And now, here's our moderator, Dr. Dante McFadden, to introduce our panel.
Thank you very much, Miles. And I am Dr. Dante McFadden. I'm the programmer for Black Lens for Milwaukee Film. Thank you all for supporting the 2020 Milwaukee Film Festival. We can't be in person, but I'm glad that we're able to engage this way. And you are in for a treat tonight with a dynamic panel about a powerful film. First and foremost, I do want to thank the director, Tyshun Wardlaw, for making Growing Up Milwaukee. I do think it is a standout film within our festival this year and will continue to be as more people get to see it beyond the festival. I also want to thank Milwaukee Film. I want to send a shout out to the Cultures and Communities team. I also want to thank the Marquette Forum from Marquette University for helping get the word out about this event. And Growing Up Milwaukee is Tyshun Wardlaw's feature documentary debut following 3 young Black people growing up in the heart of our city as they grapple with daily experiences of racism and segregation while fighting to avoid becoming a statistic. Stark, yet hopeful, Wardlaw's film is essential viewing for all of Milwaukee to see through the eyes of these young folks and build empathy around their singular yet all too familiar experiences. And there's a strong buzz about this film. You will have until the end of the night, October 29th, to watch this film. Check out mkefilm.org/festival. Also, you can go to watch.mkefilm.org just to get access to the portal. And plus two, you can also go to the website mkefilm.org/howtofest to find out how you can watch films available through the Milwaukee Film Festival through Apple TV, Roku TV, Android TV, and then also Amazon Fire TV. So you have a variety of options to check out this powerful film. Yesterday, there was another conversation about Growing Up Milwaukee. It was part of our annual installment of what we call Souls of Young Folk. And it involved Black Latino male achievement. And part of that conversation was one of the young people featured in the film, Marquel Jenkins. And for those of you who saw it, you know that he had some powerful insights. And it's really good to see how we see his journey throughout the film, and then make the contributions to the conversation that he did about where he is with his life, some of the things that he learned, and what his goals are, as well as the other young men who were on the panel moderated by Don Portis. So thank you to Don Portis for moderating, and thank you to Tiana McLaurin for organizing that event. And I would now like to invite our panelists for this conversation this evening. It's quite a few, so giving them some time to appear on the screen. Excellent. So the way I'm going to do this tonight is, rather than me going through the bios of each panelist, I think it's better sets the stage to have each panelist introduce themselves, say what your name is, let people know what you do, tell people how you're involved in the film.
All right. Well, I can actually start off. So I am Tyshun Wardlaw, and I am the director and the producer of the Grown Up Milwaukee documentary, as well as the owner of Wardlaw Productions, which is a independent film company located right here in Milwaukee, and also an office open in Chicago soon.
Thank you, Tyshun.
My name is Rick Polk. I certainly care. I got that mixed up. I'm the athletic director at Milwaukee Benson High School, and I'm also the mentor coordinator there as well. And I have a place there called the Own It Zone, where you'll see when you go see this wonderful film, you'll be able to see some of the footage, and one of those persons are aforementioned Marquel Jenkins.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Lizzie. Go ahead, little brother.
So I'm 19. I'm 19 years old. I'm Xavier. I'm from the city, and I serve as the vice president of Black Student Council at Marquette, and I'm a filmmaker, an artist, and a local activist. And anything that really got anything to do with our community, I'm there. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you.
My name is Kwabena Anton Nixon, born and raised west side of Chicago. I'm a writer, poet, speaker, and I'm working with my good brother Muhib Dyer with the I Will Not Die Young campaign and the And Be Inspired works. Peace.
Thank you.
All right, my name is David Muhammad. Can everybody hear me all right? Just want to make sure my sound is good. I am involved in a lot of things. I'd say first and foremost, professionally, I work for Milwaukee County at the Department of Health and Human Services as Deputy Director in the community. I'm broadly known for manhood development and community outreach with Muhammad Mosque number 3. And I think my involvement, Tyshun and many others here from the cultural arts community, started years ago. But I have about 20 years in with youth development, so that means I'm not a young person anymore, but I definitely got involved with this film after the Sherman Park uprising, and just giving context and clarity to how community members rallied around young people, and how that sparked, I would say, a strong surge in community-based activism in Milwaukee in the last several years.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Wilson. First and foremost, I'm a community member born and raised here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Professionally, I'm the Smart Justice Campaign Manager for the American Civil Liberties Union of Wisconsin. Currently leading the campaign to reform our criminal legal system here in the state of Wisconsin and throughout the country. I got involved in this film when Tyshun reached out to me to be a mentor to one of the young men who are featured in the film. And so I want to thank Tyshun for, allowing me to, share my story with this young man and hopefully deter him from going down the path that I went down.
Thank you.
My name is Muhib Dyer. First and foremost, I'm a servant of God and community. I'm a little black boy from the north side of Milwaukee, from a street called Burleigh that they know is the zoo. And that's what I go by. Everything else other than that is just the other sentences in the story. But for real, to tell you the truth, me and my brother Quabin and Antone Nixon many years ago founded the organizations Flood the Hood with Dreams and the I Will Not Die Young campaign, where we strive to give dreams, dedication, and determination in an area where they flood the hood with dope, devastation, and destruction. So that's what we're about.
Thank you very much. Some of you on this panel I've known for a long time, and some of you I've known for a few years, and some of you I'm just getting to know. So really looking forward to this conversation. And for those of you watching, I'm looking forward to your involvement in the conversation. So this is where you can either go in the chat, whether it's through the Milwaukee Films YouTube channel or Facebook Live. You could share your growing up Milwaukee story, or if you have any questions for the panelists or about the film in particular, you can put those in the chat as well. So I think it's only appropriate that I begin asking our director, Tyshun, the first question. And before I ask the first question, I just want to say once again, thank you for making this film. And I say this as someone who's born and raised in Milwaukee. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited for it to finally come to a manifestation of having the ideal, and to keep it short, because I know I want everyone else to be able to share their experience with the film. But the reason why I actually wanted to do the documentary, because once again, I was born and raised here in Milwaukee. I kind of like to call myself a floater, because after high school, I went to undergraduate in California, in the Bay Area at Santa Clara University, private school. So here goes this Midwest girl from, Milwaukee, in the inner city, well, north side, moving off to Silicon Valley for school. And when I came back, which was the like around 2006 from college, I noticed that there was a huge shift. But at the time, I was still kind of working my way in the news and the television industry, and I didn't really have my mindset on film. But as years started to go by, and I kind of bounced back and forth between Chicago, between California, and then coming back to Milwaukee, once again, I noticed a shift, that it was a lot different from when I left once again to go to college and undergrad in California many years ago. And even as I kind of bounced between states, I noticed that, the level of statistics that was coming out of the city, and that they were staggering, that, we were the worst place for Blacks to live, and in incarceration, the economic disparities, like all of these things which are making headlines, but we really don't hear the stories behind these statistics. So when I set out to film, I also wanted to hear it from a youth perspective, because once again, the youth are the future of our city. So I didn't necessarily want to hear it from an adult. I wanted to hear, what does it mean for Black inner city youth right now? Granted, all of the conditions that we are facing and going through and fighting day in and day out to get out of, what does it mean for youth to grow up in the city? And then 4 years ago, literally, I started the concept of creating the documentary, getting the word out there, fundraising. And then 2 years within the initial ideal for the film, that's when I got funding, and I was able to start, and we filmed for about 2 years. So here we go. We did an extremely fast post-production, which I'm really excited for the team and allowing me to push them so that we can get it out in 2020, because we literally stopped filming in 2019. So I was excited.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's an honor to have it in the Black Lens program and the Scream City Cinema program as well. So
yes, and I'm excited about that. When I saw I was in the Black Lens, I'm like, I'm in the Black Lens. Oh my God. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Well, it was you were deserving of that honor. So, Mr. Rick Polk, I'd like to turn it over to you. And something that I really found compelling about your presence in the film is how you're providing these spaces for the youth that you work with to share with you what it is that they're going through, and to really see you as someone that they trust, and then also just having that space for them to release, because they spent because there's not a lot of spaces where they can do that. they always have to maintain a certain demeanor, but around you, they just let their emotions unfold, just so that they get the clarity that they need. As someone who works within MPS and someone who's been doing what you've been doing for as long as you have, if you could speak to the importance of creating a space for young people to express what they're going and gain the clarity that they need in their lives.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And just to piggyback off Ms. Wardlaw, what she said, and just to give these kids the space to have a voice, it was something that's needed. And I want everybody to just picture a student that's troubled, that we know that's going on in the community, and then they bring it to school. They take that long bus ride, and then they come, and then they have to sit in a classroom with between 30 and 50 students, and they want to ask a question, and they seem their voice is not being heard. And then I start hearing these issues. I start talking to the kids, and I said, well, let's try to create something. And I was fortunate at the schools that I've been at that the principals there have allowed me to give me space to create a zone, and we just call it the Own It Zone. Mm-hmm. And that gives them a voice to own what's really going on. And it's crazy how it really transpired is I go in there and try to motivate them and inspire them, and then the group just start growing and growing. And then by the time it grew, they kind of took over their own space, which is what I really wanted to do, is to create a space for them to talk. So they would come in, I would say a couple of words, and then they just start talking about their own issues and their own problems and helping to resolve the problems. And I think that was really important for me to take back the data to show the improvement. Now I can go back to the classroom where I wasn't being heard and just be myself and be heard and do what I have to do. So I'm just fortunate that the schools that I was at, that the Own It Zone took place, that the kids really start to listen. And I still today keep up with those kids. It's amazing that's the technology. I keep up with the majority of the kids that were in the film, and just try to encourage them. We're living in rough times, and that includes the adults. We're living in rough times, and we know that, and we just got to reach out and have that voice for one another. So that's why the Own It Zone was created, and I'm so fortunate, and I thank Tyshun for allowing us the privilege to be filmed and to show. And I just want to encourage, my last words on this, I just want to encourage everyone to get out there and watch this film, because it tells you what our students are going through, and they don't have a voice. And it'll let you know that they need a voice. And once you give them that voice, it shows that you care about them. And once you let them know that you care about them, they will then entrust in you. And that's what my group always did. They always entrusted me. Whenever there's an issue or a problem, here they come. And I'm glad that we had the space and the opportunity to do that. So I once again want to thank Ms. Tyshun for the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. There were some compelling moments in the Own It Zone space throughout the film. Just the energy that you all give to each other, and the trust and the love that you all share with each other. I was quite taken by that. Sean, you give some testimonies about your life throughout the film. And for the audience, if you can just talk about a little bit more about that turning point in your life, what that compelled you to do the kind of work that you do now with the ACLU.
Thank you, Dante. And also thank you, Tyshun, for, giving me the opportunity to be in this film and to share my story. I also want to, acknowledge, my big brothers, as well as my little brother that's on this panel, all of you, for just being able to share this space with you, brothers, and sister. I'm inspired and motivated by each and every last one of you. And you all definitely are contributing to the work that I'm doing. The reason why I do the work that I do today is because over 20 years ago, I disappeared from what is known as the 53206 zip code. It is reported that this is the zip code that has the highest incarcerated population in the country. And so at the age of 17, I disappeared from that zip code. While growing up in that zip code, I noticed a lot of the big homies in my community disappearing. But I never stopped to think or ask, where were they going? And it wasn't until I myself landed in the cell right next to them in rural Wisconsin that I came to the realization that this is where the men or the big homies in my life were landing. And it was at that point that I began to think about the state of our community. It was at that point that I began to take heed to the brothers that were in my immediate surrounding who had letters. And when I say that they had letters, I mean they had life bits. These are individuals who would never see the light of day. And these are individuals who told me when I began to engage them in conversation, how do they cope? How do they deal with their situation of never being able to walk free for the rest of their life? And I was told by a brother by the name of Bilal, Nation of Islam brother, he said that I have life, so I give life. And so what I took from that was that every young brother that came into his presence, he felt obligated to speak life into them. And he is a brother, as well as countless other brothers that I ran into while I was incarcerated, who has inspired me to not only educate myself, but to also come home and to speak life into the young people that I come in constant contact with. Speak life into the young people who remind me of my 17-year-old self. Growing up, I mean, I always had a great deal of discipline about myself. I always had aspirations to do great things in life. I played football. I ran track, and I did karate. My uncle had us in karate at Kempo Goju up there on 16th and Atkinson at an early age. So I had a great deal of discipline. So when I went to prison, I just, turned that cell into a classroom. I turned it into a classroom, and I came into the realization of what my responsibility was and is to myself, my family, my community, and the world as a whole. And when those gates opened up, as Ho Chi Minh said, when the gates of the prison door opens up, the dragon flies out. And so I came home and I decided that I was going to speak truth to power and expose this system that is kidnapping so many Black and brown people in our state as well as in this country.
Thank you. And just with how you just shared your journey right now and how you shared in the film, talking about being in the criminal justice system to working with a social justice organization, the way you described that as speaking life is quite powerful. Muhib, you are the first person that we see in the film. And the first thing we hear from you is the quote, "Behind every statistic is a story." So if you could talk about, the importance of telling one's stories as a way to shifting that narrative, rather than, because the film opens with capturing images from the unrest in Sherman Park from 4 years ago, and then shifting to a performance of you and Wabana from Poetry Unplugged at the Onyx, which I happen to be there, by the way. And then talking to you. Why are stories important to countering statistics?
Well, I'm a deal with stories, but I'm gonna deal with art specifically too, because Black art, which stories could be encapsulated in that, has always been a lifeline for us in the community. There's a gentleman by the name of Chio Hodari Coker, and he said that Black art has always been an attempt by the great ones on our behalf, whether it was James Baldwin or whether it was Richard Wright or Zora Neale Hurston or Maya Angelou. But Black art in and of itself has always attempted to humanize us in a world that has stripped us of our identity, and of a world that has focused on turning us into animals, and in a world that has been highly indifferent to our existence in and of itself. It humanizes us. So when I'm thinking about the significance of telling our stories and the significance of Black art in general, I'm thinking about how important it is for the children of Burleigh, Garfield, Galena, Vine Center, and Houghton and Buffum to have a vehicle to be able to express themselves, to have a vehicle to be able to express their stories beyond the hood that attempts to call them every day to death, call them every day to their destructions, caskets who are literally whispering in their ear every day, come on, little Black boy, come on, little Black girl, throw your life away. You know you insignificant. You know you mean nothing to this world. The shrines, the teddy bears, the flowers that taunt them as they walk to school every day. They striving their best to master the math, science, social studies, and English. And in the other ear, that shrine is reminding them that your friend got killed last night. What gives you the audacity to think that you could rise above this city? So it's Black art.
Mm-hmm.
It's Black art. I'm reminded of Miles Davis, the great Miles Davis. The great Miles Davis was a tormented soul. Not a lot of people knew about his story, but he was a very tormented soul. He was abused by his parents from day one. Miles got into heavy drug abuse. He was fighting all his life, fighting all of his life. But when you listen to the music of Miles Davis, they describe it as a walk in the park with your loved one on a beautiful sunny day. A walk in the park, listen to his horn, and you can hear a walk in the park with your loved one on a beautiful sunny day. So how was it that this man who through his music was able to manifest so much beauty and so much love and so much compassion within himself, but he couldn't do it in real life?
Yeah.
That's the significance of Black art. Black art liberates us. In many instances, it's the therapeutic couch. Our ability to tell a story is the therapeutic couch. Children who reject therapy come in me and Kwabana's workshops, and they cry and they talk to the paper when they won't talk to anybody else. That's Black art. So when I think about the significance of telling our stories from an artistic perspective, it saved my life. Mm-hmm. It saved my life. And I know that the young kids who come from these neighborhoods, like the young sister that was in the film, just trying to channel all of that pain and aggression in a positive way, whether they make it to become a star or not. Yeah. Just an outlet to be able to channel that negative aggression, it could save your life.
Thank you. And I really appreciate, when talking about stories, you expand it to all of Black art and how it humanizes people and save your lives. I'm certainly a testament to that. So I appreciate you speaking to that point. David Muhammad, throughout the film, how you doing? Throughout the film, you talk about crime as the result of an unmet need. And then you also, something you also mentioned about Milwaukee is it being a harmful policy laboratory. And, I think that's all too real when we think about how, people are responding to this public health crisis with COVID. And, how do you think, this documentary either reflects or confirms your thoughts on that? This city being a harmful policy laboratory. Well, I think it's important for me to start because there's so many narratives spun about Milwaukee, like brothers mentioned earlier, where, I mean, 53206, everybody knows it as like this most infamous, the worst zip code for a black child to be raised, the most incarcerated zip code. Then there's, we use names and language like Milwaukee and et cetera. And all of those circumstances are real. But I think what is real is that for me personally, I found life in Milwaukee through the cultural nationalist community and the cultural arts community. Milwaukee is it's a southern town up north with a whole lot of people with roots from Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, places like that. And then of course we have many people like my brother Kwabena who keep going north through Chicago and find themselves here. I'm not from here by birth, but spiritually, I was born here. When I was 14 years old, I joined the Nation of Islam at Muhammad Mosque number 3 in Milwaukee on Atkinson. And I was introduced to the Asara Set community and all of those other, I'd say, cultural influences. The Moorish Science Temple has its root here. Marcus Garvey movement had a strong root here. And this was the third city of the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X stayed here for a period of time and helped establish beachheads. So Milwaukee has always had this strong Black pride base that was in this city. And I think when you see the industrial North start to decay in the late 60s and early 70s, what replaced that was social policy that was detrimental to Black family life. You start to see lower economic opportunities for Black men, and then you start to see, I would say, the policies related around systems that take the place of the nuclear family dynamic. And so the social worker, the after school program, the human service center becomes the stand-in for traditional community anchors. We talked about Burleigh Zoo. The Burleigh Zoo, which, for those who are not from our community, you can't call it that. But, as far as 27th and Burleigh, there used to be the Police Athletic League pool there, the PAL Center. And, there was a different dynamic even with police and community relations, even under the Breyer administration. And so there's this palpable, tense feeling and sentiment in Milwaukee that where your community is. If you're North, you know what type of people you're going to find there. If you're South, you know what type of people you're going to find there. I don't even have to say it. And then people know their boundaries. So I came up with a whole lot of people who never went south, and, et cetera. I'm saying that because when we say social science laboratory, the violence that we see in our community is not because of some moral lapse of Black people. It is social engineering. And it is the type of social policy that Sean alluded to, that you could see systems take the place of family supports and anchor institutions that young people could go to. Those places go away. The social outlets go away to the suburbs. You no longer can go downtown for anything. And you find yourself engaged in high-risk behavior. I don't like using the term crime, although the statement that I gave from my teacher is that crime is the result of an unmet need. What are the needs in Milwaukee? You see employment. Black male employment, according to the 2010 study by Mark Levine in UWM, in major parts of the central city was 50% unemployment. You have 60 million people unemployed right now because of COVID-19. So, Malcolm said, what is it, that when white folks get a cold, we get the flu or something like that. So the environment is infant mortality and Black maternal health in this city. We talk about police brutality being something that's a high indicator for conflict between Black males and law enforcement. Well, healthcare and Black women is a similar dynamic, where you have people who are either
a part of the safety net, but don't have access to high quality care, or the care that they get is dangerous to their own health because of the lack of respect and care afforded to Black and brown people in these systems. And so you have all of the social welfare policies that came up in the 90s that are bipartisan in nature, and it's important to call it out like that. This state under Governor Thompson and the gutting of welfare and the social service and the safety net in the 90s was adopted by the Clinton administration. And they championed the same type of policies that we saw with the 94 crime bill.
Yeah.
But those were tested in supermax prisons in this state under Governor Thompson, who now appears like a moderate version of a Republican compared to Donald Trump. But in reality, it's because Wisconsin was made a laboratory for a confined Black population. And the beauty of Black Milwaukee is this: in spite of it all, they can't penetrate the cohesiveness of this community. In spite of it all, you still see a community that home ownership is high. You still see intergenerational dynamics in communities. I used to work at the Silver Spring Neighborhood Center before they tore up what was the old Army barracks and built up West Lawn Gardens.
Yeah.
But that was one of the neighborhoods where I literally could go across the street and talk to a grandparent about how their grandchildren were behaving. Some of those dynamics still exist in the city. When I think about Atkinson and those areas over there, some people have owned those houses for a long time.
Right.
So words like gentrification don't really take hold in this city. It's because you still have the vestige of community that has survived violent public policy that has attempted to destroy Black family life in this city. And so I think if anything I got out of the film, it's that we thrive in spite of all that has been done to us. The most dangerous thing that I think we need to bust up, that I think the work that is done by Kwa, by Muhib, by Sean, by those who are involved in the cultural community, brothers like Khalil Coleman, Reggie Moore, Vaughn Mays, other people. I think it's important, Gat Turner, and the sisters doing this work, because you have so many who work with young women. The worst thing that can happen is for us to internalize all of the negative things said about our community as though it's some type of deficit about us. It is not what is wrong with us. It is what is done to us by those outside of our community to keep us from actually controlling our own destiny. And in spite of it all, we still can take control of our own destiny. And that's what I see in Milwaukee on a daily basis.
That's a powerful concept. So I really appreciate you sharing that, David. And for those of you who are watching this, just want to invite you to share your growing up Milwaukee story in the chat, as well as any questions you have for the panelists. Continuing with the panel, Kwabena, the scenes that I see you in the film working with the youth, I've witnessed that firsthand. And something I want to ask you is, through the workshops that you do and through the engagement that you have with the youth, if you could talk about how they can contribute to changing the narrative about their city and the way they're portrayed through the exercises and, through, a lot of the process that you put them through, developing them as artists and storytellers. If you could release your mic, please, Kwabena. There you go.
Am I?
You're good
now? You can hear me?
Yes.
All right. First off, thank you for taking the time to be a part. And I want to do one thing. Thank this beautiful sister Tyshun for just pulling us all together and letting us be in this joint. This is amazing. I got to watch it again, and Tyshun, it's an amazing film. It's lit well. It's the back and forth is amazing. I also want to thank my brother Sean for just telling this story. Me and Sean have met on several occasions, and when he told me his story about, as he said, that's so deep what he just said. I was taken out. I was missing out of our community. I never heard it that way. So I thank you. And I had the honor to work with Muhib, my brother, and brother David. You know, thank you for articulating the struggle like never before. For me, Dante, I'm always believe that we have to control our narrative. We have to control our stories, our movies, all the things that are being said about us. We have to be the ones who say it. So with the young people, what I'm really trying to do with them is get them to take ownership of their life in the story. You know, we call it the conflict resolution. So you let them be as transparent and as open as possible, just like the music they listen to. The only difference is that they're going to be frankly honest versus trying to sell something. And now they get a chance to look in the mirror and see who they are. And once they tell that story, they develop their own community within the sessions because, as David said, they find the likenesses in each other. Sometimes our young people say, well, I'm the only one going through this. And we as adults say that, especially right now through COVID. But after the power of story, what's beautiful about telling stories is it builds community and it builds connective. So when the young men and young women are sharing their story, they get to see that it's not me. I'm not by myself. I can do this. And it's also empowering for them, you know. And last but not least, I would say, especially working with Marquel, you can see the redemption in his work, you know, that he said, I'm gonna take my pen, my pad, and I'm gonna turn this whole story around. So for me, man, just watching young people be able to tell their story is amazing. So we get them to do this exercise called The Truth Is, and it's a cathartic exercise where they have the power. I mean, they have the time to fill a paper up from top to bottom what they're going through. And they just are as honest as possible. And then they get a chance to get up and read it, which is now public speaking. And I'm a firm believer that you don't have to worry about how you do something. You just have to know why you're doing it. Once we got through those whys, school became super easy. Why? Because it meant more than just I went here and I passed and failed. They took ownership. So I just believe when we working with it, man, and that's why I'm glad to be a part of it, that Tyshun gave us the chance to change the narrative, that it's possible to go. And I want to close with what David said. Despite all of that, the redemption power of it. You know what I mean? We are resilient people. And the Muhib said they will not break us, because if you look at everything we've been through, especially most of us on this that's been a part of this film, if we sat in the room and all told our story, we shouldn't be here. I'm a black boy from Chicago on the west side. Every number says I shouldn't be here. Sean's stories, David's story, Muhib, all of us say we shouldn't be here. But look at us, we are here. So I just like the fact that, man, you had the power to change your story. For me, that's more than anything.
Power to change your story. Man, that's a word.
You know, man, I think it is, you know, whenever we've done something, if I give my book out to young men and young ladies, I say, this is the mirror. Take a look at yourself in this book. You know, if I did, you can. So, I mean, as much as you giving me the power, I really want us again one more time to just get a sister a hand, you know, and it's a black woman who put this together. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much going on, but this is who gathered all these brothers together to bring this home. So we got to get his queen some love.
Oh, thank you guys. But okay, I want to interject my deep and wonderful moment, because I am a woman of faith. And I believe that all things happen as they should and when they should, especially if you're in line with your purpose. And the way that this film came together, I couldn't have really wrote or constructed a better storyboard. Literally, when I met Kwamanan, that was the very first time we went out filming. I met Marquel in his session. He allowed me to come in. He didn't know the quality of work or, you know, anything about me as a filmmaker. You know, I was given his contact information, but that was all that, you know, he knew. But he allowed me into his space. He allowed me. And interestingly, Muhib, and I'm going to get to that, he was supposed to be there for that session, but he didn't make it. But then I'm going to tell you in a quick second how that came full circle. And you see his face literally throughout the the film and the video that they created almost 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, I met the first featured film youth from Kwamanon section. Then when I went on, I remember seeing David years ago when I started filming. I saw him speak at a session, and I remember getting his card. I don't know if you remember that, but I got your card and I'm like, okay, I need to have him in the documentary. We hadn't even started filming, but when we started the interview session and when I wanted experts on the city, literally someone else mentioned his name and I'm like, I got his card years ago to be in the documentary and linked us up. Then to go to Sean, I was just introduced to Brandon. He just got out of the DT and put into the group home. So I'm like, I need someone that can speak to him about, you know, incarceration and, you know, just moving forward. I read a news article. Sean is in that article. So I reached out to him, never met him. He never knew me, but literally like, I'm filming this documentary. I have a young man. Would you be willing to be introduced and mentor him? And then that part of the story. And then with Uncle Rick, I'm an alumni of Vincent, class of 2002. So I knew him when I was there. So just to go full circle and be able to film in his class as well as film with a student from Vincent, it was like, wow. And I remember even some of the students that I attended school was like, when I saw Uncle Rick, I broke down. I was like, I can't handle it. I started crying because they were like, he is so awesome. And, you know, this is who I remember him to be. We've been out of high school maybe 18 years, almost 19 years, and he's still that same genuine person, caring for the youth, instilling in the youth. So that was also faith. Then to backtrack to Muhib. Oh my goodness. So I had to find him because I was like, I know that Kwamanon does, you know, the sessions with Muhib, but he didn't make it. But I want to meet with him. I need him in this film. Met with him in a coffee shop, telling him about the vision, you know, checking, seeing if he could help narrate, showed me the video of the poetry that they did, I think 12 years ago. And I said, oh my gosh, I think I wanted to faint, but I wanted to act cool because I didn't want him to see me sweat, you know, because I just met him. But I wanted to faint because I said, this is the missing piece. Like, I need him and this to be in the film. And then the rest is history. So I say all of that to say thank you guys for being willing once again to allow me to come and turn the cameras on, you know, not necessarily having a full bio of me or not even knowing how it was going to turn out. But I thank you for what you're doing in the community day in and day out. And that's what I also wanted to depict in the film, to let people know all hope isn't lost. Milwaukee is a lot of things, but hopeless is not one of them. And through being able to film with all of you, whether that was actually in the field or you came to our wonderful studio that was really cold at moments to shoot on camera, I thank you. And Muhib, I thank you for allowing me to put you on the spot. All that he gave us at the moment was right there. And I kept coming with questions and he like, well, but he was just give them to me. I still have hours worth of footage from everybody that it's like, oh, in a perfect director producer world, can I like just make a whole nother documentary with just this footage? Like, it's so much great nuggets that they gave me, but I'm truly grateful and thankful for what you guys are doing once again and allow me to do through telling your stories on what you do in the lives of the youth in the city.
And Dante, can I add something real quick?
Sure.
It's okay. It is so crazy how she said it, because she just like, hey, you remember me? I gave you your car, and listen, I said, well, I'm doing a session today. If you, okay, I'll be there. And she showed up, right? And that was an intense session. That was a really intense session. And Marquel was one of the right. Am I right, Mr. Polk? He was one of the more resistant, like, I don't want to be here. So just to get all of that, you know, I think it was because I said, I think you should call Muhib. I think I even gave you a list, like you might want to call David and call so-and-so. And I say that to say how persistent the sister was about, we got to get this done like this. So it's another story to let people know that if you want something done, right? If you want it done and you need, and it wasn't about you, it was about highlighting others. A lot of times we'll go, I'm not doing that because what kind of credit I can get, but you put all that out the way to get it out. And that's another teaching message that we can give to our community, that there's a young lady out there who's up next. There's a young man who's up next who's going to see this film and possibly say, you know what, I think I want to do film. So much cracks there, pops to everybody on here, no doubt.
Thank you.
Dante, I just want to add one more thing. Think of how many times, for those of us in Milwaukee, we hear this crab in a barrel narrative. When you look at something like this is the antidote and the opposite of that. This is us lifting each other up, and it produced this great work. And I just, real thankful to Tyshun for having that vision, for centering young folks in it, and then highlighting other people. It's really an example of how when you see the good and see the God in each one of your circle, you don't have to worry about envy and jealousy, which I think oftentimes is attached, another negative narrative that's attached to Milwaukee that I think we can beat.
Yeah. So I like to turn it over to LaZabia. LaZabia is not featured in the film, but wanted you on the panel because for a few reasons. I definitely see you as a next generation leader, next generation artist. With what you're doing in the digital media department at Marquette. The community that you're part of with the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP, and then knowing what your leadership role with the Black Student Council at Marquette, as well as your activity with a lot of the protests that have been happening over the course of the summer, and you even being at the forefront of those protests. So, first question I have for you. It's been a while since it took us a while to get to you. So what do you make of what you've heard so far?
I've just been, I've been spiritually fulfilled from this because I'm in the presence of divinity and true wealth. This is true internal wealth, and like I'm just blessed to be in the presence of these leaders and people who guided me in some way. And even just right now, I'm really just soaking up everything that I'm really hearing and just learning and just taking it all in. And like everybody, like I hear all of the different perspectives of Milwaukee right here. We got Kwabena who worked, he did the same work that I was in the film. He did it to a group of students in my class. My class with the seniors and juniors. And for my friends, they still talk about that to this day. They still talk about that experience because so many times we've been taught to live out as characters or everything that's far from ourselves. And that was the first Black man that let us know that it was okay to cry because it was an opportunity to heal. And that's what the film is all about. Like tears and everything is truly healing. That's why I thank Tyshun for this film. I watched it last night with my friends, a Vincent alum and my friend from Bayview, and who both go to Marquette with me, and we both do this activist work. And like it was fulfilling for us because it's like we truly are the voiceless. Everything that we do in the city is underground. Even with our scholarship program or everything, like even this like we trying to rise. That's what Milwaukee is. It's like so much culture that's bubbled up, and it's underground though. It's not showcased to the world, but since it's underground, it's truly authentic. Like it's truly us. Like nobody can mess with it. Nobody. When me and my friends or one of us or the people that I met through these networks, they go outside of the city of Milwaukee and we step into these entirely different worlds that we was never mentioned in. They don't know what to make of us. We have too much internal wealth. They are shocked that we have made it to this position, and that's what this film showed.
Yeah, I really appreciate those remarks. And another question I have for you, you as an aspiring filmmaker and you being an artist, and just the circles that you're in, how does having grown up in Milwaukee inspire the stories that you want to tell?
Well, for me, I feel like I had no other thing to lean towards to except the microphone, like football. I've been through the football thing, like the football dreams. I have I hold the school record at Hamilton. If people don't everybody thought I was going to play football, but that didn't spiritually fulfill me. That didn't heal me inside. It wasn't until I went on a microphone and I looked up to leaders such as and like artists such as Nas and Andre 3000, J. Cole, Kendrick, because they was able to tell stories of their people, and they served as modern day griots. Like they told the new history. This was our new form of rhetoric. Like I was able, when they said Nas, when you put on the headphones of Illmatic, you was able to hear the soundtrack of New York City. Well, I don't, you know, I wanted that to exist for Milwaukee. I wanted to be able to have a soundtrack so people can actually hear our stories, because we are voiceless in that way, you know. And since I've been doing this music, I've been a part of when I say we have some of the most talented artists in the world here in the city, but it's underground. I would like to say that because we're the most revolutionary artists. Like our stories are painful, you know, they're traumatic, but when we express it, just like Head was talking about with Miles Davis, it's so beautiful. You've seen it rise out of the summer. Everything that our artistry is about is stepping into our divinity and stepping into this symbolic phoenix. And like one day we gonna rise. Like we are rising right now, and it's happening right now. 2 years ago, me and my friend, we was just saying Milwaukee Renaissance, but you see it bubbling right now. Like we're 100 years removed from 1920s, the Harlem Renaissance. You know, why can't it start in Milwaukee? And we talk about we're working together on an album that's it's all of the conscious artists of Milwaukee and all of the artists who have something to say. And the theme around the whole album is one day the Phoenix will rise. And that's how we go about. But we've been boosted in a way by leaders such as the people that I'm in the presence right now.
Really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for you know, what you're bringing to this city. Like I said, you know, just the next generation of artists, and you know, people that I see on this. You know, we still contribute, but you know, we've been doing this for a long time. So you know, we thank you for your insight, and we thank you for your energy.
And Dante, can I add something to the young brother? King, reach out to us, man. I would love to be a part of the project you're working on, man. Just tell me when, where, and man, I would love. I commend you, young brother. We need to put you out so they can see. You know what I mean? I'm 51 years old, right? And I think we've been a part of a renaissance. But to hear you and know what you're doing, you was playing football and you went, man, nah, I got a story to tell. King, let me know what I can do to assist. You know what I mean? From financial to being a part of it, man, because we have to highlight what you're doing, because they highlighting all the other stuff. We got to highlight the good stuff. You know what I mean? So that I just had to add that, King.
Mm-hmm. So,
no, I appreciate that. That's real.
Thank you. So before we wrap up here, I do have a question for all of the panelists, but Tyshun, I have a question for you. So with Tiana, with Brandon, with Marquel, we were fortunate to have him take part in the Souls of Young Folk conversation last night. You know, like I said, he brought some, you know, a lot of positive energy that I found gratifying. But what's been your involvement with them since the film was completed? And can you tell us what's going on with them now?
Yes. So of course we kind of know the situation with Quell, with he's on the right track, you know, still a couple bumps in the road with the family aspect, but yet he's a freshman in college. He did just have a tragic incident happen where his brother was murdered here in the city. And interestingly, we were actually going to film with his brother during one of our filming sessions. However, the time just was conflicting. So we actually didn't get a chance to film with his brother. So, you know, just him and his family is in that healing process, but he's still on the right track. Sean and I have actually been, and I hate to say tag teaming, but making sure that Brandon stays on the right track. So I think, you know, he's still kind of facing like the world with aging out of the group home, still trying to finish school, kind of sometimes being on the verge of homelessness. And kind of jumping around from home to home. So we're still, you know, in the background kind of navigating. And once again, thank you, Sean, for all of the calls, because we get them early in the morning, late at night, you know, but making sure that he stays on the right path. And then with Tiana, She's the oldest out of the three, and so she's still trying to find her way. Unfortunately, she didn't go back to school for a GED or anything, and she's trying to find work, and then also masking the pain of what she's dealing with still through her music. So she's been putting more music out, but we're still in contact with her. And Connie Palmer, that was in the film as well, has expressed interest to make sure that she's on the right track and to stay in her life, to instill some knowledge and guidance. So we're still actively in all three of the youth's lives.
Thank you very much. And
if I can just add real quick, Dante,
please.
To Tyshun's point about Brandon aging out of the group home. One of the things we discovered when we were looking for, housing for Brandon was that there was a lack of housing for young people when they age out of group home. And I take issue with that. I take issue with that because there's a significant amount of group homes to put our young people in. But when it comes to finding residence for them to go into once they age out, there's a lack of services for our young people. And so I think that's an area that I'm going to be looking a little bit more into how we can solve that problem so that we can find residents for our young people, because we know that if they don't have anywhere to go, the streets is always open for them. And when they fall in the streets, we already know where they're going to land after they fall in the streets. So that's something that we discovered when we were trying to find housing for Brandon. So everyone that is listening and hearing this, please see what you can do and connect with your resources to create housing for young people
Really
who are
appreciate
aging
you
out of
saying
group homes.
And the last thing I want to wrap up with is I want to ask each of you, what do you hope people take away from this film? And I'll just go around the panel, starting with Lazabia.
What I think people can get from this film is it's social commentary, and like Spike Lee said, the most powerful thing about film is the ability to expose truth. And like what you got in this film, you got so much traumatic stories and like the pain. And if you just looking at it through that lens, that's not doing it any justice. Like when you look at it through the lens of these are people, these are people, these are spiritual beings who have been hindered by this very structure of America, this very society of America. None of this just happened. We didn't just wake up and just was suffering. Like the reason why so much pain is because we can't unravel our DNA. We can't relive our ancient memories of when we was kings and queens. So we just walk and we see trauma and we see pain and we see suffering. It's because we're not able to live how we truly are supposed to live, And like with this is commentary on we're getting to that. Like this is a step right here. We're getting to that point, and we're going to get there, And this is just a way to that point. And also, I feel like I wouldn't do it justice. I wouldn't do myself justice, or like all of the people who put in work in educational. I didn't leave here without saying popping the plug on the scholarship program that we sparked this summer as well. Like they was talking about in the film. I forgot what lady she said it, but she said like you can benefit a lot through the Black education. That's where you get brotherhood and friends you will meet of a lifetime. And I feel like and they also said like it's good to have like high expectations, but you also have to provide the support. And like I went through support such as GEAR program, the educational opportunity program. We have educational heroes, and like I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for them. And we have a scholarship program that's 40 Black students. They get to get full tuition paid for, full housing, and we fought for that. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into that. And I want some students to know that is there for them at Marquette. And if they look, they seek to it. We trying to honor the most enlightened. And like if they seek to it, that's the opportunity right there. And the whole film should be about that, like the opportunity. And as much as Black suffering exists, Black love, Black joy, and Black prosperity should exist as well. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Polk, the one that students refer to lovingly as Uncle Rick, what do you hope people take away from this film? Yeah, we're trying to hear you. Yeah, we're having some audio issues with you. I could come back to you. Sean, what do you hope people take away from this film?
I hope people take away from this film that all of these stories are all of our stories. Any one of these young men can be our sons. They are our sons, our brothers, our nephews, and all of us who contributed to this film and sharing our stories and sharing our art. Understand that we must pour into our young people because they are the future. We must pour into our young people because they are our liberators. As David said early on, is that we cannot internalize the narrative that is out there about our young people. We cannot internalize the narrative that is out there about us as a people, us as a city. We have to disrupt that narrative. We have to put our own stories out there. And so I thank Tyshun for putting this story out there, because another director could have came and told a completely opposite story that would have continued to perpetuate a lie. And as we know, if you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, or people start to believe it. So I think we need to put more stories like this out that get to the heart of the issue, that's raw and authentic, so that, you know, folks could continue to nod, but at the same time as they nod, they're also thinking about viable solutions to the reality that we're seeing on screen. So I just hope that folks are inspired. I hope that folks are motivated. I hope that folks realize that they have an obligation to our young people, and that they fulfill that obligation.
Thank you. David, what do you hope people take away from this film?
Well, I mean, everything that's been said, I just have to echo that. I think what the young brother said earlier was probably the key. You know, it's significant. We see what's happening right now in the country and in the world,
Yes.
and you know, we see systems falling, and we see leaders who are at their wits' end. I think it's a sign of a young person like my brother that's on the panel and his generation, that it's their time and it's our time to make sure that we support them. I feel like this panel and the film show the level of intergenerational support that comes from black women as well as black men to our youth, as well as you know, to black and brown youth across the city. And I think it's, if anything, a call for us to move unapologetically, because this is our time to take and shape our own destiny. And that means culturally, that means spiritually, that means economically, that means politically, and that our hope is in each other.
Thank you. Rick, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to say I'm an emotional person. I'm sitting back here and it's, if I didn't have energy, I got energy now. And that's what I do. It's hard for me to say what I do because I like to show it, and it's showing to the youth. I really need our youth to step up with each other. We need, as adults, to give them a voice. This film shows you that when they get a voice, that they can do well, but it also shows that it's so many of them out there that are hurting. It is so many out there I'm hurting. And I'm a selfish person in a way that I really want to go out there and grab and help every single one of them. But I'm looking at this marvelous panel that we have, and I cannot wait for COVID to be over so I can sit and meet with each and every one of my brothers Mr. Jackson, I applaud you, man. I applaud you. You're going to be that voice, and we're going to back you up. But all of us in together, we're going to make this. Tyshun, I can't say enough about you. Yes, I'm still the same. I'm not going to change. I'm 57 years young, and I'm going stronger than ever. But I'm just saying, I need people to watch this film. And I want everybody to take from this. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. We tell those stories to move forward. Don't go back, look back, and use those stories. I grew up on 23rd and Locust, and I look back to those stories. I had a mom and dad. I chose to go another route. And those are the stories that my kids, when I tell my story, they open up. So, gentlemen, ladies on this panel, keep doing what you do. I applaud y'all. I really do. I just get emotional, and I apologize, but that's just who I am. Now, I'm moving. So when I call, y'all just pick up the phone. Let's go. When COVID is out of here, it's over. Because now we're going to take our communities back to where they should be and where they started.
Thank you very much.
So I thank you very much.
And one of my favorite moments in the film is when your son gets involved in that circle. Really powerful. Kwabena, what do you hope people take away from this film?
I'm like Uncle Rick. You know, I'm emotional now because you know, we all, you know, man, we all was one bad idea from being a documentary. You know what I mean? If Sean didn't get a certain amount, we never hear from him. You know, David don't go join the Mars, we may never hear from him. You know what I mean? The trauma that happened to Muhib, all of us on this panel have been through something that got us to this. So what I want people to see is that it's not pain, it's not punishment, it's preparation. Like, it's preparation. This, all the wrongs helped us right. Everything we've been through is how it got us to this point. So I want people, when they see this film, to see, man, don't go mark your gravesite now. You know what I mean? If that's what people saying, you know, you're gonna end up on an obituary. All right, that's what you say. But according to my narrative, because Dr. Joy in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave, and I close with this, she said they did a study and they said kids who know their history, not just history of the world, but the history of their family, have a more resilience and redemptive power because they have an understanding that it can happen, right? No group is going to educate our children about resilience like we are, right? So every chance we get it on Facebook, all over social media, tell our story, man. Stories are redemptive. I want people to see this film and say, one, a sister put this together. I'm gonna go back to that. I got that need to be happening. Little Black girls need to see that. Two, brothers and all us need to see as possible. And last but not least, I have to say this. My good friend Anita Funches lost her daughter in Chicago this weekend, the senseless violence. And I think she's on here watching this. So I wanted to uplift her and her family and uplift Marquel and his family and everybody we lost, man. Just our story matters. And I just want people to walk away knowing their story matters.
Thank you so much, and our condolences. Muhib, what do you hope people take away?
Well, being an old Milwaukee boy myself,
both of us.
I just want people to understand the holistic story of the book of Milwaukee, right? So if Milwaukee was a book, you know, maybe the title of the book would be from tragedy to triumph. And if Milwaukee was a book, then maybe, just maybe, in those first tragic chapters, like I was exposed to a poem by Langston Hughes when I was 7 years old. It was called A Dream Deferred. And I remember reading those words. What happened to a dream deferred? Would it dry up like a raisin in the sun, fester like a sore, then run? Would it sag like a heavy load, or will it explode? And it took me to this week, being 45 years old, Milwaukee boy, to truly understand the significance of those words. 3 days ago, I lost one of my students at North Division High School who was killed on 11th and Hadley. I went to North Division High School. I walked to school sometimes, walked those same streets that he died in. His name was Sidney Wright. Sidney Wright, say his name, Sidney Wright, was a sophomore last year. He averaged 14 points a game as a sophomore and made honorable mention in the city conference in basketball. Sidney got killed and he's gone. But that's part of the Milwaukee story. And although that hurts me because the ghetto oftentimes can be a thief of dreams, and the ghetto oftentimes can be jealous of Black children with talent and do everything in its power and significance to sabotage their greatness, it is the first half of our book. But there will always come a part in the book, that transitional chapter, like I said, in the movie. And God bless you, Tyshun. We are the author of our own story. She was the author of our own story. She held the pen, the pages were blank, and whatever she wrote would be. So the next part of the book is gonna be a chapter in there about the servants. And maybe, just maybe, all of us will be blessed to get a footnote in it. Because there are masses and multitudes of us. There are hundreds of people in this city trying to do good work. And we all might have different lanes. We all might argue amongst each other sometimes and go back and forth. But in our hearts, we are all striving to do our part, whether it's in schools, whether it's in the religious communities, whether it's in the streets with the marches and the protests, whether it's in the classes, whether it's on social media. We're all trying to do our part to make Milwaukee a better community. Muhammad Ali said it best: service is the rent you pay for being on the earth. But then there will be also another chapter. And the other chapter might speak a little bit about, it might say Bible, because Bible is the good news, right? We're doing the work, but oftentimes we don't tell the story. We have to take it upon ourselves not to change the narrative, but to create a narrative. We always say we're going to change the narrative. If you're changing the narrative, you're just reacting to somebody else's story. We got the power to tell our own story. We define our own reality. We ain't got to. We don't have to run a play to combat what they doing. All we have to do is put the camera on ourselves. All we have to do is keep writing the books. All we have to do is keep making the papers. All we have to do is keep using our social media platforms to tell the truth about all of the good people in Milwaukee and all the powerful, all the good news. We can't wait on the media to tell it. Because like Malcolm said, if you listen to the media, ultimately speaking, what's going to wind up happening is you're going to fall in love with your oppressor and you're going to start hating the oppressed. So last but not least, the final chapter of our book is going to be We Are the Walking Miracles, because you know what? Nobody betted on us, but we betted on ourselves. And like I said a long time ago in the poem that I wrote, I should have died in the drive-by a long time ago. Face on the t-shirt, shrine, teddy bears, and flowers a long time ago. Mama should have cried over me and my obituary should have read, I was the waste of a good potential a long time ago. See, we are the walking miracles. We are the walking miracles. We are the walking miracles. We ain't supposed to be here, but we are. And that's what I want people to get out of the movie. The true story about the resilience of Milwaukee and how we the greatest comeback story ever.
Thank you, Marquel. Tyshun.
Wow. So the way that everyone summed that up, all I can say is that our stories matter. And that's what I hope people walk away with, and that we're not hopeless. So can we just like continue this panel for like another hour? Like, I don't want them to go. Can we just continue to flow? You like, no, we can't. Dante. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, I hope people walk away with that. And then also I do want to give another shout out to Marquette. And actually I see if she's still on, Sheena Carey. that works at Marquette that was very pivotal in providing Wardlaw Productions with interns over the last, I would say, about 4 years. And so just entrusting the students, experience and journey with my company, who helped, create this film. So I'm truly thankful for the Marquette University and the support that it showed my company over the years with providing me and allowing me to instill in students as they worked with production with me.
Sheena's in on
thank
the
you,
chat.
Marquette. Thank you, Sheena.
And Tyshun,
Thanks so much,
because,
Sheena. I appreciate
you're
it.
the reason we here. You get the last word. So I want to say thank you once again for making this film. Thank you to our dynamic panel. I want to thank Miles for the welcome, Miles Tsai, student at Marquette University. I want to thank our technician, Kelsey, for arranging all of this. I want to thank Milwaukee Film. I want to thank the Culture and Communities team, Genre Queer, Cine Sin Fronteras, Black Lens. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you tuned in live or you're tuning in after this has been recorded. Go to mkefilm.org/festival to get access to Growing Up Milwaukee. Make sure you see this film. And once this festival is over, I highly doubt this will not be the last that you hear from me. You're going to be hearing.
No.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you at the movies.